6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarachi and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The President instructs the Prime Minister to arrange for holding of the Provincial Council election next year. A special committee has been appointed to speed up the distribution of lands to war heroes. 500 new Sisusarya bus services will be launched from the next school term. The Central Environmental Authority appeals to the public to not use polythene and plastic decorations for the Vesak festival. GCE O-level examination ends today. Results will be released by September. Foreign news, the UN says almost 450,000 people have fled Rafah in a week. Cabinet spokesman and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena to arrange for holding of the Provincial Council elections next year. It would be held under the previous system incorporating women's representation as well after discussing with the Attorney General, the Election Commissioner and party leaders. Meanwhile, the President has appointed a special committee to speed up the distribution of lands to war heroes. The President's Secretary, Saman Ekanayake, chairs the committee, which also includes an additional secretary to the Defence Ministry, the Land Commissioner General, the chairman of the Ranaviru Seva Authority, and a representative of the Attorney General's Department. Government lands are to be given to triforces, police, and civil defence department personnel who died, went missing or got disabled during active service, and those who retired or still on active duty. Although the program of providing land to war heroes was started several times before, it was not implemented successfully, and the President has appointed the above committee after considering the matter. It is the responsibility of the relevant committee to consider the role of providing land to war heroes as per the President's order and arrange work promptly. The President has also outlined his commitment to propel the nation's economic progress by spearheading a shift from the traditional plantation industries to a burgeoning agriculture enterprise. He emphasized the imminent removal of bureaucratic barriers through new legislation and the implementation of advanced managerial practices in the plantation sector. Transport Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that 500 new Sisusarya bus services will be launched from the next school term to operate on all roads in the country. Accordingly, the number of school buses will be increased up to 2,000. The minister has instructed the officials to make arrangements to deploy private buses as well for this purpose. The Central Environmental Authority appealed to the public not to use polythene and plastic decorations for the Vesak festival. According to the authority, the country spends huge sum of money annually on importing polythene and plastics. Therefore, the authority urges the public to refrain from using plastic and polythene decorations as much as possible during this Vesak full moon day to prevent massive environmental damage caused by plastic and polythene. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The GCE O-level examination ends today. It commenced on the 6th of this month. About 452,979 candidates sat the examination. Out of them, around 387,648 are school students and 65,331 private candidates. The examination is being held at 3,527 centres with 535 coordination centres. Commissioner General of Examinations Amida Jayasundara said that the results are expected to be released by September this year. About 35,000 evaluators will be deployed to check answer scripts. The non-academic staff of state universities has decided to withdraw from the essential services of the university system, including water and electricity services. The strike action, launched by the Joint Committee of University Trade Unions, continued for the 13th consecutive day yesterday, citing wage issues. Although the proposals concerning the monthly allowance and wage disparities of university non-academic staff was tabled during the Cabinet meeting, which was held on Monday, the granting of approval for the proposals were further delayed, since it has been decided to seek approval from the Ministry of Finance for the matters outlined in the proposal. Accordingly, the relevant proposal is expected to be resubmitted to the Cabinet following approval from the Ministry of Finance. And that ends local news for now.
The main news news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
India has extended the ban imposed on the LTTE for 5 more years as it continues to foster a separatist tendency amongst the masses and enhance the support base for it in India, particularly in Tamil Nadu. In a notification, the Home Ministry said the central government is of the opinion that the LTTE is still indulging in activities which are prejudicial to the integrity and security of the country. It said that even after its military defeat in May 2009 in Sri Lanka, the LTTE has not abandoned the concept of and has been clandestinely working towards the Elam cause by undertaking fundraising and propaganda activities, and the remnant LTTE leaders or cadres have also initiated efforts to regroup and scattered activists and resurrect the outfit locally and internationally. And that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
In Watchlight this morning, pediatrician Dr. Deepa Perera says that there's 3 to 15% chance that a child can die due to electrocution. It can affect the heart, it can affect the brain. That means it can damage the nervous system. The heart rate can change. We call it arrhythmia. Things like that can happen. Fainting, loss of consciousness, and even death can occur. This is very dangerous, Dr. Perera warned. Therefore, he stressed that it is the duty of adults to immediately rush them to hospital when such incidents occur, as well as to prevent such situations from arising. Meanwhile, a tragic incident has been reported from the Monahena area of Maggona, where a 3.5-year-old girl has died allegedly due to electrocution while using a mobile phone that was plugged into a charger. And that came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to world news, the headlines first. UN says almost 450,000 people have fled Rafah in a week. Antony Blinken tells President Zelensky US aid is on its way. And jailed Thai activist 28 dies after hunger strike. Almost 450,000 Palestinians have fled from Rafah over the past week, the UN says, as Israeli tanks reportedly push deeper into the southern Gaza city. People face constant exhaustion, hunger and fear, warned the US Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA. Israel's military says it is continuing operations against terror targets in the east of the city, where more than 1 million people had been sheltering. New Israeli operations in northern Gaza have displaced another 100,000 people. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken informed President Vladimir Zelensky that military aid is now on its way during a surprise visit to Kyiv. The top U.S. diplomat tells the Ukrainian president the weapons will make a real difference against the ongoing Russian aggression on the battlefield. The American-funded weapons now arriving at the front line include air defense interceptors, artillery, and long-range precision-guided missiles. A Thai activist accused of insulting the country's monarchy has died in detention following a months-long hunger strike. He died after her heart attack stopped suddenly on Tuesday morning, officials said. The 28-year-old, part of a youth movement calling for royal reforms, had been detained since 26 January, facing 7 separate charges, including 2 of insulting the monarchy. She began her hunger strike the next day, only accepting water once again in late February and food from April. Back to the headlines of the world news. The UN says almost 450,000 people have fled Rafah in a week. Antony Blinken tells President Zelensky US aid is on its way. And a jailed Thai activist 28 dies after hunger strike. And that ends world news.
Development news.
On to development news. State Minister for Investments Promotion Dilum Amrugama said a duty-free shopping complex by China Duty Free in the Colombo port city is expected to get the go-ahead in June. Several businesses have already started through the Colombo port city pending the construction of its buildings under its regulations. And that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
The National Paralympic Committee of Sri Lanka organised the 2024 National Para-Athletics Championship this year on the 11th and the 12th of May at the Diyagama Mahinda Rajapaksa Stadium. The championship brought together over 600 athletes from more than 45 sports clubs affiliated with NPZ across various provinces of the country. Dialogue Axiata PLC proudly sponsored the 2024 National Para-Athletic Championship, and that was sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීර හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Farmers in the Anuradhapura district who cultivated lime are in a predicament for want of a remunerative market for their produce, while the price of lime has skyrocketed in urban areas due to the ongoing racket of the middleman. The National Consumers Organisation Asela Sampat told the media after attending a program in the Thalawa Divisional Secretariat that the farmers were being exploited by the racketeers who purchased their produce at a very low price. The wholesale purchase price of lime in Anuradhapura area is 50 rupees per kilo, but the current market price is 2,000 rupees. Farmers are not harvesting their yield to avoid heavy losses. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීර හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. Minister Mahinda Amarweera suggested that arrangements should be made to give a souvenir of Sri Lankan tea at the airport to every foreign tourist coming to Sri Lanka upon their return. Accordingly, with the aim of popularizing the name of Ceylon tea in the world, every tourist coming to this country will be given a souvenir containing Sri Lankan tea products. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Due to a low-level atmospheric disturbance in the vicinity of the island, showery condition is expected to be enhanced during the next few days. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in most provinces of the island after 1 p.m. Heavy showers more than 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the central, Sabaragamuwa, eastern, southern and Uva provinces. Showers may occur at the eastern and southern provinces during the morning. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts during the morning. Well, that was the weather report. Prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The President instructs the Prime Minister to arrange for holding of the Provincial Council elections next year. A special committee has been appointed to speed up the distribution of lands to war heroes. 500 new Sisu Sarya bus services will be launched from the next school term. The Central Environmental Authority appeals to the public to not use polythene and plastic decorations for the Vesak festival. The GCE O-level examination ends today. Results will be released by September. Foreign news, the UN says almost 450,000 people have fled Rafah in a week. Well, with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and handing over the microphone back to Anupama Gamage on the other side. Over to you, Anupama.